Story 1. It was a warm Friday night in the middle of summer in the city of Detroit, Michigan. I was 19 years old and working a part-time job delivering pizzas for Pizza Palace to earn some extra cash while home from college. I didn't mind the work too much, cruising around town in my reliable old Civic, listening to music and bringing people cheesy deliciousness. It was pretty laid back most nights. But this one night was different. It started off as a standard delivery. The order came in for a medium pepperoni to an address located downtown. I loaded up the piping hot pizza, jumped in my car and headed out. The location was in a questionable part of the city, full of rundown row houses and groups of people lingering on the sidewalks. I parked along the curb under a broken street lamp. Grabbing the pizza bag, I got out and locked up. As I walked towards the house, a scraggly-looking man who appeared to be in his 40s crossed the street and intercepted me. "Hey man, you delivering that pizza?" he asked in a gravelly voice. I nodded slowly. "Mind if I get a slice real quick?" "I'm starving," he said. I shifted my weight uncomfortably. Sorry, but I can't do that." "This pizza is for a customer," I replied. The man's face darkened. Without warning, he lunged forward and tried to grab the insulated bag from my grip. We struggled back and forth, me trying to wrench it away from him. Suddenly, the bag split open and the pizza box tumbled out, flopping onto the sidewalk. Before I could react, the angry man stomped his foot down directly onto the center of the pizza, utterly destroying it. "There, now, no one gets it," he spat. I stood there stunned as the man cursed and continued smashing the fallen pizza with his shoe. What a waste of a perfectly good pie. My heart pounded with adrenaline and anger, but I knew better than to further provoke this unhinged person. As he finished annihilating the pizza, I cautiously backed away and hurried up to the customer's house. I knocked rapidly on the door until it was opened by a middle-aged man. Breathlessly, I explained what had transpired with a crazy pizza destroyer. Thankfully, the customer remained calm and understanding about the whole thing. After profusely apologizing and assuring we would send a free replacement pizza, I nervously went back to my car. The screwy pizza stumper was gone now, but I kept my guard up. Suddenly, as I neared my Civic, I spotted the man crouched behind the rear bumper. My blood turned to ice. Quickly, I spun around to retreat back up to the house when CRSish. The sound of shattering glass pierced the night. Whipping my head back, I saw the frenzied man had smashed his fist through my car's back window. He then scrambled up and started trying to pry the doors open. Heart pounding out of my chest, I sprinted back up to the house. The customer, and I hurriedly called the police as we watched the vandal continue attempting to break into my car. Within minutes, flashing blue and red lights flooded the dark street. "Put your hands in the air," blasted a voice through a loudspeaker. I sagged in relief. The crazed pizza punisher was roughly dragged away in handcuffs, still kicking and screaming like a madman. I provided a statement, and the police assured me I'd done nothing wrong. The customer felt so badly he didn't even want another pizza after the insanity that had transpired. I was just grateful to escape unharmed, with only some minor car damage. And I learned to avoid certain neighborhoods after dark from then on. Story 2. It was a chilly October evening in the small town of Willow Creek, Washington. The leaves were just starting to change colors, and there was a crispness in the air that hinted of the coming winter. My friend Samantha and I were hanging out at my house, sheltered from the cold fall air. My parents were out of town for the weekend visiting relatives, so Sam and I had the house to ourselves. We ordered a pepperoni pizza from Tony's Pizzeria, our favorite local spot, and settled in to watch movies in the living room. The old grandfather clock chimed 9 times, letting us know it was getting late. The street outside was quiet, most families already turning in for the night. This neighborhood was always peaceful, hardly any noise or commotion after sunset. There was a knock at the door and I jumped up to answer it, knowing it must be the pizza delivery. I grabbed some cash and opened the front door to find a teenage boy holding a steaming hot pizza box. "That'll be $11, he said. As I handed over the money, he added in a hushed voice, "Hey, not sure if you're aware, But I noticed some guy hanging around the side of your house when I pulled up. He was hiding in the bushes like he didn't want to be seen. Might want to check that out." I felt a prickle of unease spread down my spine at his words. After thanking him quickly, I closed the door and locked it. I set the pizza down and told Samantha what the delivery boy had said. She looked alarmed. "Should we call the police?" she asked. I hesitated, unsure if we were overreacting. "Let's just go check it out first before we involve them," I suggested. "I bet it's nothing." We armed ourselves with flashlights from our phones and carefully made our way to the side yard. My heart pounded as the beams from our lights pierced the darkness. The neighbor's fence created deep shadows where someone could easily conceal themselves. I swept my light back and forth over the bushes, but saw no movement. The hair on the back of my neck prickled. "I don't see anyone," I whispered to Sam. She nodded, wide-eyed. Still uneasy, I crept closer to the largest bush, one right up against the house. I steeled myself and plunged into the leaves, flashlight held out. Only empty space. No lurking man. Samantha and I exchanged relieved looks. Perhaps the delivery boy had been mistaken. We went back inside, double-checking that all the doors were locked up tight. The pizza was getting cold, so we finally sat down in the living room to eat. As I took my first bite, movement outside the window made us both freeze. The curtain fluttered as the shadowy figure of a man darted past. "Did you see that?" Samantha hissed, gripping my arm. My heartbeat quickened. Someone was definitely out there, and now we knew the delivery boy had been right. We leaped up from the couch and rushed to the window, peering out into the night. Our unwanted visitor was nowhere to be seen. The street light across the road cast an eerie glow on the sidewalk below. "What should we do?" Samantha whispered urgently. "What if he's still here?" I chewed my lip nervously, dancing around. "Let's check the back door. Make sure everything is locked up." Samantha nodded, following me to the kitchen. My blood turned to ice when I saw the previously locked door now cracked open. Fear choked me as I realized the intruder must have come inside while we were eating. Frantically, we spun in circles, straining our eyes for any sign of movement in the dark house. Silence surrounded us except for the thudding of my heart. Then a floorboard creaked overhead. Samantha and I locked eyes in terror. Someone was right above us. We fled from the kitchen, and I grabbed the landline, hands shaking as I punched in 911. The operator answered, but in that moment, the power suddenly cut out, plunging the entire house into darkness. Samantha screamed. I heard a crash come from upstairs, followed by heavy footsteps. The intruder was in the house with us. Samantha and I clutched each other, paralyzed by fear. In the distance, a police siren wailed. The dispatcher must have sent a patrol car despite the call getting cut off. Hope soared in my chest. The footsteps grew louder as the man descended the stairs. I could see his hulking silhouette in the shadows, moving toward us. Samantha whimpered in terror. Just then, flashing red and blue lights illuminated the windows. "Police, come out with your hands up," blared a voice through a megaphone. The intruder snarled and turned to run. The front door was suddenly thrown open. "Freeze!" yelled a cop as he tackled the man to the floor. Within moments, he was in handcuffs. Samantha and I sobbed with relief as more police officers flooded the house, making sure it was clear. The intruder turned out to be a serial burglar who had been hitting homes in the area. He was arrested on the spot. My parents cut their trip short and were back by morning. We had extra locks installed and a security system put in after that night. Samantha and I still get chills thinking about how close we came to something horrible happening if that delivery boy hadn't warned us. Ever since then, I've made sure to tip generously for pizza. Story 3. It was a chilly night in late October in the small city of Springfield, Oregon. I was 20 years old at the time and working as a delivery driver for Pizza Planet to earn some extra cash while going to the local community college. I didn't mind the job most nights, cruising around listening to music and bringing cheesy, saucy goodness to hungry people. This particular night, it was especially quiet as it was nearly 1 a.m. on a Saturday. The bars had already closed and most people were already home or asleep. I only had a couple deliveries all night. Just as I was hoping to wrap up my shift soon, an order came in for a large supreme pizza to be delivered clear across town to an apartment complex called Creekside Gardens. I didn't know the area well, but plugged the address into my GPS and headed out into the chilly night. As I drove, I noticed the roads getting darker and more desolate. The apartment complex was in a fairly run-down part of the city that I usually avoided. But a delivery was a delivery, so I pressed on reluctantly. Turning down the road of the apartment complex, I felt a growing sense of unease. It was completely dead silent and still. My headlights washed over the plain two-story buildings as I scanned for the building number from the order. I located it, parked my car, and got out hesitantly. The pizza warming bag in one hand and phone flashlight in the other, I shuffled toward the building apprehensively. My footsteps seemed deafening in the stillness. Reaching the dimly lit door, I paused and knocked loudly 3 times. Only silence answered. I waited a minute and tried again, but still no response. Annoyed, I debated just leaving, but knew I had to at least try one more time. As I raised my fist to knock again, the door suddenly cracked open slightly. I froze, surprised. Peering into the dark apartment, I saw all the lights were off. "Hello, pizza delivery," I called out timidly. Still no answer. Growing uneasy, but determined to complete the delivery, I edged forward and pushed the door open wider. Taking a couple steps in, I scanned the dark living room with my phone light. "Anyone here?" I said louder. That's when I detected movement and heard a quiet, raspy breath from directly behind the door. My blood turned to ice, realizing someone was hiding there, lurking in the dark. I spun on my heel and bolted out of there, leaving the pizza behind on the doormat. My heart hammered wildly as I sprinted back to my car and locked the doors. Peeling out of the parking lot, I drove straight back to Pizza Planet, utterly shaken. Once I got back, I was paranoid that creepy guy would complain about me not delivering the pizza. But to my relief, he never called. The owner wasn't happy about the wasted food, but let me off since I seemed so disturbed. I paid for the pizza myself, just so I could erase the whole eerie encounter from my mind. After that night, I switched to delivering pizzas only during busier daylight hours. No more late-night apartment complex deliveries for me. I still get chills remembering that pitch-black apartment and the unseen person breathing right behind the door. Who knows what twisted intentions they had planned for me had I ventured further inside. All I know is quitting that job was one of the best decisions I ever made.